what the background is to the story and what some of our historic problems have been that I think impede our capacity and ability to love, because you can't do that until one loves oneself, and all manner of impediments have been thrown in the way of that process. Over 200 years ago, 45,000 enslaved Africans in Haiti revolted against imperial France. And it was an extraordinary event. They were led by two ex-slaves, Toussaint Louverture and Jean-Jacques Dessalines. They fought for 12 years. They lost some 140 to 150,000 lives. But they turned back every major European army that was thrown against them. They turned back France, they turned back Spain, they turned back England, they turned back France again under the leadership of Napoleon Bonaparte and sent him packing. They humiliated the West and angered the United States. I must tell you that in my childhood and through my early adulthood, I had never heard anything about the Haitian Revolution. I had never heard of Toussaint Louverture. I'd never heard of Jean-Jacques Dessalines. I'd never heard of the movie Black Jacobins by C.L.R. James, which is the masterpiece piece of literature on the Haitian Revolution. Never been told, never heard, knew nothing about it. My ignorance was glaring. And the point of this and other points to the story is that African Americans and those Africans in the diaspora who are the descendants of enslaved people, we lost more than the value of our hire. We lost more than the money we would have gotten had we been paid for the labor that we rendered. We lost memory of who we had been. We lost mothers, fathers, we lost our languages, we lost our religion, we lost our customs. We had to reinvent ourselves. And so, when I was a child and into adulthood, I would go and speak at Black history events around the United States. And thinking about what would be covered in 30 days. Dick Gregory said they gave us the month of February, you know, but they even gave us the month with some of the days missing. And Black history was always covered from slavery until the present. It was if we never had a story as a people to know and take nurture from. Mount Rushmore. He carved into the face of the mountain 4 faces. He carved Abraham Lincoln, George Washington, Thomas Jefferson, and Theodore Roosevelt. In doing so, he horrified the Dakota Sioux people for whom this mountain was sacred. But the people who carved the mountain weren't telling the story of the Dakota Sioux people. They were telling their story. Thomas Jefferson had enslaved us. George Washington had enslaved us. Theodore Roosevelt had written around the turn of the 20th century that the best lands in the world should be preserved for whites and whites only. But he was on the mountain because those who put him there were telling their story and not our story. When I was in school, I used to think people really taught history to inflict pain upon me. I didn't understand why we invested so much in history. History is memory. You can be great if you know that you have been great before. And there's a reason. If you don't know, there's a reason why you don't know. It was done on purpose. Some years ago, I went to Jamaica to give a speech. And I was speaking to 15-year-old Jamaican high school students, just like me. Jamaica's just a stone throw from Haiti. Now, Haiti has been disparaged by the Western world since Thomas Jefferson and George Washington and the Vatican tried to destroy it after they won their revolution. And so they want nothing good said about Haiti. It's been victimized by our own country from the day of their victory until today. But we don't know that story. And it is a great story. It's an empowering story. And so I said to these 15-year-olds, I said, how many of you young people have ever, and Jamaica's a country that was a revolutionary society. In the Blue Hills of Jamaica, many people died fighting against slavery. And so Jamaica has a rich history of resistance. And I said, how many of you people have ever heard of Toussaint Louverture? Not a single hand went up. Then I said, how many of you people have ever heard of Snoop Dogg? Every hand in the room went up. That is a measure of a disabled people. Something is wrong. You see, but when you got something missing and you don't know it's missing, you feel a void in your spirit. Sometimes you feel a lack of confidence and a small belief in yourself, and you don't know why it is there. President Aristide from Haiti, who had been democratically elected twice, was abducted from his home along with his American-born wife, Mildred Aristide. Summa cum laude from City College, University of Pennsylvania Law School, abducted from their home, taken first to Antigua, which is a stone throw from us in St. Kitts. Plane landed, no one allowed to board or see them. They're not told where they're going. They're taken to the Central African Republic. Maxine Waters and I charter a plane, go to the Central African Republic, and get them and take them back to Jamaica. P.J. Patterson has been threatened by Condoleezza Rice that if you keep them in Jamaica, we will shut down Jamaica's government. Now, I tell you all of that because Topo and Becky gave them a safe place to be in South Africa before they could go home recently to Haiti. Democratically elected, we overthrew it. The New York Times, when it carried the story, said that President Aristide left his country and went to South Africa. No mention of the abduction, no mention of the road that the U.S. and France, the deal that they made with the president of the Central African Republic to keep them there against their will. No mention of the rescue, no mention of any of it. So news is often not news. You have to look behind everything. And we have to have a way of creating our own information. You can't trust what you read and what you see. In many ways, we were better off in segregation because we knew who our enemies were. They presented themselves directly to us, and in some ways, when we offered brave opposition, it ennobled that response. and a response made by people, particularly throughout the Deep South. I came from Virginia, and we thought we had a hard time until we thought about our brothers and sisters in Mississippi. Those were scary times, but they were negotiated by very brave people, and with a kind of special decorum and nobility. Something has happened, and I want to talk a bit about that. And I want to start by reading something by Boyce Watkins that I think shocks and frames the issue we're talking about. I was just watching a video used as part of the performance in the Up in Smoke tour with Dr. Dre, Snoop Dogg, Eminem, and Ice Cube. At the end of the video, Snoop has shot another black man who is taking his last breath, with blood coming out of his mouth. Snoop looks into the camera at the predominantly white audience and says, "What do y'all think? Should I smoke this, the N-word?" The crowd screams in approval as Dre and Snoop proceed to murder another black man in front of the crowd. After seeing this sick display that celebrates black-on-black genocide, I figured out how we might define commercialized hip-hop. Commercialized hip-hop is a place where black men are financed by white-owned corporations to present themselves to predominantly white audiences as weed-smoking, sexually promiscuous jackasses who are willing to shoot one another for any reason. Now, sometimes we forget when we see this sort of thing in the U.S. that these messages migrate around the world. Whatever we watch on television in the United States is being seen throughout the world. And I was shocked to learn a few years ago that mothers in the Caribbean had begun to tell their children to stay away from African Americans when they come to the United States to go to college. I read a black Hungarian blogger who wrote recently that racism in Hungary against blacks is near epidemic because all they can see of black Americans are the images, impressions they gather from Martin Lawrence movies. It is the only picture they see of African Americans. These images depict who they believe we are. When they look at me, they see Snoop Dogg. I am indistinguishable from that. And that has done and wrought terrifying consequences around the world, and even reduced sympathy for social struggle in the United States on behalf of a black community whose problems after 350 years of slavery and legal discrimination, whose problems were never put right. And so we have a situation, a country with the largest per capita prison population in the world, while the rest of the world is moving away from the death penalty. Most of Africa, most of Latin America, all of Europe has moved away from the death penalty. 4 countries, China, Iraq, Iran, and the United States, execute about 94% of the people put to death in the world. most of them executed in the United States, are executed in the state of Texas. And a great many of them, some 35 to 40, by former President George Bush. The Innocence Project has shown that many of these people were innocent. And we continue to do that in violation of international human rights norms. And a part of why there's no sympathy for those people, largely poor, predominantly black, are being put to death is because there is no sympathy because of the images that are spread around the world that depict the black community in a less than noble way.